This podcast contains discussion around depression and suicide. If you're experiencing feelings of sadness, depression, or thoughts of self-harm, stop and seek help now. There is someone waiting to talk to you right now on Lifeline's crisis hotline, 13 11 14, or call 000.
This podcast may also contain unintentional coarse language and political incorrectness.
Hello there. It is time for You Wouldn't Be Dead for Quids. This is the Fella podcast. This is a no BS discussion on what life throws at you and how to deal with it, so that if you are up Schitt's Creek, then we have a tour guide here for you. I'm Ruth Geis, and our tour guide is the Fella himself, Graham Cotter. Graham, how are you doing today?
Wouldn't be dead for Quids, Ruth.
Always good to hear. Me either. So today we're talking about increasing your positive mindset. And now, increasing your positive mindset isn't just good for your mood or good for your emotions, is it?
No, definitely not, Ruth. How we think and impacts directly on our physical wellness. Anxiety, depression, those sorts of things are all linked very much so to our physical wellness.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about pretending to be happy when you're not. That is definitely something different. Yeah, we're not saying, be happy under any circumstance. That's not the case. A positive mindset is definitely different. But so you've got a story to share with us today about?
One of the things that Marissa Peer, that the lady that developed rapid transformational therapist, was tell yourself better lies, and that you might be feeling, and and the other
interesting
thing,
way to put it. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Tell yourself better lies, and if you might be feeling crap, but tell yourself how good you feel, and our minds respond to the words we say and the pictures we make. So change those words, change those pictures, and you can flip that. So
it's about flipping it, not pretending.
Yeah, no, you got to flip it. And there's, the evidence is becoming increasingly the way we think and our physical wellness go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. It's reached a point where the medical system, the hospital systems, it's at bursting point. It's at a point where it can't cope anymore. People on waiting lists for months and months and months to get simple tests done is the case in point. We really do, as a society, need to have a good hard look at ourselves and take some control. If we, as individuals, take control of our the way we think and the rest of it. So
we're not completely relying on, we'll just wait till it goes wrong and then go and see a doctor.
No. It's that mindfulness of what we think, how we think, the environment around us, and our values. That sounds sort of woo-woo stuff, but the reality of it is that it's not. And an example that I was part of as part of the RTT process was a bloke in his late 70s that was pretty much paralysed, a condition called ankylosing spondylosis, which is calcification of the spinal column. Pretty much is probably the simplest way, and so basically Jack was bent over like a half-open pocket knife, and had been for a number of years, and he couldn't turn his head. Mm-hmm. So his neck was frozen, and his licence was important to him because he couldn't get around. He would have been relying on people. So I knew him personally, and I thought, well, I want to try this hypnosis and this rapid transformational therapy. And Jack was a champion bloke, so he agreed to try the rapid transformational and the hip therapy and the hypnosis and what have you to as a means of addressing that condition that he had. Because at the end of the day, how did that calcification of his spinal column happen? Because it happened because his subconscious mind. Why do we breathe? How does that happen? Why does our heart pump? It's all driven by what's in our subconscious mind, and it was incredible actually when we did the regression as to why this condition come from, and it turned out that the condition in his life started at the exact same age as the condition in his his father. And it really was amazing. And part of this condition, there was quite a few amazing components of this story. The condition itself can be very, very painful. Jack was a pretty amazing bloke, and the condition has lots of different elements that are pretty amazing. So one of the things that happened to Jack was that even though the pain was one of the results of the condition that he had, was he had no pain. He certainly had all the other symptoms. And
so he had the condition,
yeah.
but he didn't have the pain.
Yeah. And sort of on the research, it was slowly and eventually his spinal column calcified to a point where, he couldn't move. As I said, he was like a half-open pocket knife. And when I'd say to move your head, John, well, he didn't move his head, he only moved his chin. And that hypnosis process, we identified where it come from and that journey, and it was linked so much, and he could remember it in so clear detail of his growing up with his dad with that condition, and John was in his late 70s, so when his dad had that condition, it was during the Second World War, and they cured his dad with some sort of radiation, which has since been well and truly banned as a treatment, but John didn't want to be that way. And he used to do exercises. He'd sort of lie on the floor and lift weights and what have you. When he laid on the floor, he was like a turtle on his back. It really was. And I did quite a number of sessions with Jack. I remember one session and what we did with those sessions was we actually had Jack visualise that the calcification of his spinal column and his neck. So you see that calcification just disappearing. And Jack did a lot of work with himself over a period of months. And when I used to go and see him, I'd say, how'd you go this week? I'd probably go every fortnight. And he'd say, Graham, he said, I can feel cracking in my back. There's something starting to give. And
some movement.
Yeah, some movement. And I remember he was given a recording and he listened to it every day, and he did it religiously because he wanted to get better, and he could actually see the evidence and feel the evidence. And I remember one particular session, I said, move your head, and prior to that, the only thing he moved was his chin. And this particular day, he moved his chin. I said, no, see if you can move your head, John. And he did. And it frightened the shit out of me, actually, because there was all these cracks and what have you. And I said, holy shit, John, was that your neck? And he said, yeah, I haven't heard that in years and years.
Wow. Where it stemmed from then is a belief that his father had that condition and he was going to get that condition, and he did it at the exact same age. Yeah,
at the exact same age. It was pretty amazing. The other thing that was pretty amazing was he had a positive mindset. He didn't want it in his life anymore.
Okay. So he basically, with the positive mindset, he made a decision that he would do something about it. He made a decision that he would do all he can. So obviously he was already doing the exercises and bits and pieces, and then added to it with the RTT.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He understood where it come from, and he was amazing. He was an amazing bloke, Jack. He really was. The fact that he was able to, I could see him straighten up every time I went to see him, and he, he wasn't shitting me when he said, he said, Graham, I can feel cracking in my back.
Wow.
Obviously, that subconscious mind that had created that situation, that calcification, it was more than capable of uncreating it. It was not only that; it was that positive mindset and that belief that Jack had that he didn't want that. He wanted to be able to free of this condition.
Yes. If you are interested, I mean, the thing is, for a lot of people, there might be doctors or medical people listening and go, well, that's rubbish, and you're a witch.
A warlock.
Oh, sorry, you're a warlock, Graham. Basically, individual results vary, and it's all to do with how people think and what it can unlock for them. So there's no guarantees. You're not making any guarantees with RTT other than to be able to explore what could be holding you back and what might make a difference.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I just keep coming back to the fact that, well, how did that condition happen? What created it? To say, you break your leg. Well, how that happened, but sort of if you're in a constant state of anxiety and all of a sudden you have a terminal illness or how did that happen? Well, it might be what you eat and the rest of it, but that'd have no doubt have a bearing on it. But by the same token, it's your body responding to the stress and the anxiety and all those sorts of things, and that's why our hospitals are bloody busting at the seams for that. Most of that is directly linked to we live in today
and the thoughts that we think.
Yeah, and that's why the practice of mindfulness is so important, because if you're aware of what you're thinking and how you're thinking and the environment around you, and your values, then you build up your individual immunity to those things like anxiety and that sort of stuff, and the result, because it's unhealthy. Constant trickle of adrenaline running through your system, well, it poisons your system.
If you would like to maybe take a look at your mindset and your positive mindset, Graham does have some meditations on YouTube under Graham Cotter, the Orgathala Fella, just to see whether that might make a difference in your life, just in terms of your positive mindset and what you're thinking before you go out the door each day. The other thing you can do always is have a chat to Graham. He's pretty approachable. He's kind of a fun guy, and I don't mean in a mushroom kind of way. That brings us to the end of episode 11, Increasing Your Positive Mindset. Graham, thank you for sharing these stories with us today. What are we going to be talking about in episode 12?
Another thing that we've lost touch with is our spiritual connection, Ruth. And so I don't want people to shy away from this one, because I think we all do have some form of a spiritual connection, and everyone is different. So, but it's a critically important aspect of it.
There's no right or wrong. Absolutely. Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for listening today. Don't forget, if you do want to find out more about rapid transformational therapy, just go to kissbusiness.com.au and click on the What is RTT tab, and we will catch you for episode 12. Graham, stay amazing.
Thank you, Ruth.